Hello, everybody. My name is Sophia Givery, and I am going to be interviewing Josué Quiñones today. So we are just waiting on him to join us and request the live, and then we will be able to answer some of your questions. For those of you who are regulars of the All In Alumni Live lunches, you're aware that I'm taking over for Cassie today. She is the host of this show regularly, but today I am here with Josué Quiñones, also known as JQ. He is a 2012 Binghamton grad, and he is an academic advisor, and he is also the founder of Success is a Lifestyle. Hey JQ, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed. What's up, Sophia?
I'm good. So, just to get us started, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so folks know who I am. My name, Josué Quiñones. Most of my friends, colleagues, and students call me JQ. I work part-time as an academic counselor at Westchester Community College. So I assist students who are getting registered for their college career. Right now, we're actually in the midst of doing mass registration for the fall. And also kind of help them with career decisions in terms of what they want to major in, what they want to pursue. Um, but I also, outside of that, am the founder of the Success is a Lifestyle program, which is geared toward college students and not only aiding them in being successful in college, but beyond college and in life. And so we do a bunch of different programs and workshops, speaking events to share principles for success and how to take action, and how to build the right team around them because, you know, success is a lot of different things. It carries a very personal definition, right? And so we have to be clear on that. We have to have a vision for it, but then we have to actually put in work for it. And surround ourselves around the right people in order to be able to accomplish it. And so we help students to do that.
Nice, nice. Love it. JQ's very student-centered, super passionate about it. So love that. And so
Yeah.
you definitely have a little bit of a non-traditional career path here. You took
Yep.
that entrepreneurial track. So can you
Yep.
tell us a little bit about the decision-making process that led you there?
That's a great question. I mean, some of it I think is intentional decisions, and I think some of it, truthfully, is just sort of serendipitous and happenstance in a way. While I was a student at Binghamton, you know, I had quite a lot of challenges. I went in thinking that I was going to be a SOM student, and I learned very quickly that math wasn't my strong suit. And so I always, whenever I do my programs and share my story, I always say that I failed calculus, right? And I got an F, and the F stood for flying colors because that's what went by on the board with all the numbers, the equations and stuff that I didn't understand. But along that journey, I got to a point where I recognized the importance of really understanding myself and understanding, you know, who I am, how did I come to be who I am, what are the events in my life, what are the environments, the people that have shaped who I am. And when I really dug into that, I recognized that a lot of it stemmed from childhood, from early on. And I always had this question of why. That was like the central question I always asked. And so when I started to ask myself that and started to really recognize what I naturally gravitated towards, what I was naturally intrigued by, what I cared about, it was always people, the way they thought, how they thought, why they thought that way. You know, why did they make certain decisions? I was just always intrigued by the why around people. And so that led me to major in human development. And through that experience and having been an educational opportunity program student, shout out to EOP. I love EOP. Yes. And EOP truly helped save my life. I always say that, because I don't think I would have gotten to Binghamton if it wasn't for the EOP program. And it was an EOP counselor who helped me get into the right direction when I was pretty much on the verge of failing out of Binghamton. And you know, I wanted to be who he was for me, for other students, right? And not only exploring my own story and not only exploring my own experiences and how they led me to be where I was at the time in undergrad at Binghamton, he helped me to redirect my life. And I was like, I want to be who he was for me, right? He represented hope. He represented what could be. He represented what success meant for me at the time. And I was like, I want to be able to give that to someone that's going to come after me, because I knew that I wasn't the only one who had gone through the experiences I did. And so I wanted to give back. And I knew at that point I wanted to be an EOP counselor. And so, I studied human development. I connected with a variety of different, faculty, staff, mentors. And then that led me to social work, and thinking about being a counselor. Dr. Leo Wilton, who I believe is still at Binghamton, was the one who introduced me to social work. He kind of just mentioned it happenstance, like casually. Do you ever heard of social work? And I was like, I have no idea what that is. And he said, you should do some research, look it up and meet with, this person and then come back to me. And so I landed in social work and I loved it. I loved it. And from there, I wanted to work within EOP. I was, heart set on being an EOP counselor, but at the time, the things didn't line up the way that I would have liked. And so, an opportunity to become a resident director came about. And, I share this quite often. Being a resident director is actually the one job that I never wanted. It was the one job that I did not want because I thought I knew everything about it. I had a false perception of it. And after chatting with, countless people, they helped to reframe the way I thought about it, and really helped me to see it as a opportunity to grow, an opportunity to learn. And that's exactly what it was. I don't regret that decision to take the resident director position at Binghamton. I loved it. I was a resident director for 3 years in Lehman College, which is a Hinman. So shout out to Hinman because I love Hinman. And I loved it. I was paired with an amazing supervisor, Leah Shaw, who truly helped me grow in a lot more ways than I anticipated, both personally and professionally. And it was during that time that the sort of entrepreneurial bug kicked in, because during my first year, we did RA info sessions, and I was part of the committee at the time. And during the info session, it was my turn to do a couple slides about the process. And just energy filled me, to be in a room full of over 100 students. And at some moment, I think I said, I forget what I said to them, but I got them to all clap. And I was like, whoa, what is this, right? And then I made another comment and I got all of them to laugh. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Like, what if I could do this in a much more intentional and powerful way to educate students, right? When I was in graduate school, I got to a point where I wanted to share my story. That was part of the work that I wanted to do, was to be able to share my story and use it as a tool to inspire and motivate others. And so while I was in front of that room in the RA info session, that kind of kicked in. It was like, oh, this is it. I could do this, and it also brought me back to childhood when I used to perform. Me and my friends would record rap music and perform at festivals and carnivals in my friend's college. And it came together and I started pursuing that. And that's kind of the fast track to how I've gotten here, between RD and now advisor at Westchester Community College. I then became an education opportunity program counselor at Binghamton, which was the dream come true. And I loved my time there, and that was an amazing experience. And after about 3 years there, that again, that entrepreneurial bug and this desire to take what I do with students in my office and scale that and do it in a larger format, just it kept tugging on me. So that's a long-winded answer, but
yeah, I feel like there's definitely a lot to unpack there, and it's very useful for students, right? There's something about mentorship in there. So you found a solid mentor, and that really inspired you to pursue the work that you did. there's that connection, right? And being able to represent students that perhaps often are unheard or underrepresented in spaces, and wanting to fill that gap there. And then there's
Absolutely.
also that uncertainty, right? You could start off in a totally different major and end up in a totally different spot. And you spoke about it nicely in terms of skills, right? Especially with the res life part of your journey there. In you kind of were focusing on the job, and then when you realized the skills and opportunities for you from it, that's where you were able to really discover that passion. So that's really, really cool. And I hope that students are hearing this, because sometimes, they get set on, oh, this isn't the job I want, but it could be a really, really positive learning experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So for students that are like, I'm somewhat interested in coming out with merch or coming out with my own company or pursuing music, but they're just really afraid to take that leap, how would you motivate them? How would you encourage them?
For me, it's truly honing into the why behind it, right? I go back to that. That's always been, I truly believe that why is like the central question of life, right? Regardless of what it is that you dream about, regardless of how it is that you define success, regardless of anything that you're trying to accomplish, do, participate in life, you will always come faced with the question of why at some point, especially when it gets hard, especially when it gets tough. That's the first thing you usually ask yourself is, why am I doing this? Right. And if you don't have a solid answer, then you'll find any reason or excuse to give up. And so for me, it's important that you hone in on why you want to do that in the first place, right? And is that why solid enough to keep you going when it gets hard, when it gets rough, when it's confusing, when it's, scary? You have to really hone in on why. That would be the first thing. I think after that is, if you don't really know how to get started or what to do or how to do it, I think you have to find people who do know, find people who have experience, find people who know people who have experience. The three principles that I talk about in my Success as a Lifestyle program is, one, that you have to think yourself into it. Right? You have to envision it. You have to see it. That's why the why is so important, because when you understand why you're trying to do something, then you begin to picture it and you begin to envision it for yourself. You have to focus on that visual. What does it look like? How does it feel to be there? Who's around you? What are you doing? What kind of environments are you in? But then you have to put in work, right? You have to take steps. You have to make sacrifices. You have to do research. You have to connect with people. You have to, if you mentioned merch, right? You have to get a t-shirt done, find out where you can get them done, get a sample done, right? You have to start to actually take steps towards it. And for me, the third principle is that you have to build a team, right? And to me, the team is the most essential principle and the most essential part, because if you don't have the first two, that third one can help you develop the other two, right? If you surround yourself with the right people, if you surround yourself with the right connections, if you get involved with the right networks or the right people, they can believe in you when you don't believe in yourself and help you craft the vision if you're unsure of how to craft that vision. And if you don't know what steps you need to take, or you don't know where to go, or you don't have the information, they can tell you exactly what it is that you need to do. They can tell you the information that you need, and chances are they'll tell you how to do it even better than they once did. And so, out of those three, I would say find a team. Connect with your why, understand why you're trying to accomplish this. What's the reasoning behind it? And is that strong enough to keep you going in those moments when it's going to get tough? And if yes, if you got that, then build a team. Find people that are going to help you, push you, encourage you, tell you what to do, so that you can get to where it is that you want to be. Because I've got an invisible army. I say this all the time. I've got an invisible army behind me. Y'all can't see them because they're not present in this room, but there's so many people that have pushed me, that have encouraged me, that have cheered me on, that have lifted me up, that have told me what to do exactly for me to be where I am today. And so I wouldn't be here without any of them. Some of who I think may even be on this live currently.
Appreciate that support. Um,
Yeah.
So at the Placement Center, we talk a lot about NACE competencies, and I think you did a good job of listing some of those. So that are some of the skills that students need to be ready for the job force and what employers are looking for. And I think focusing on that networking skill is so important, right? That army of people behind you, because students can kind of lose sight of that sometimes. So it's important to really focus on your network, make sure it's expansive, and that there are people who are really rooting for you. And then another thing that I think you touched on that's just as important, right, is really taking that time to reflect, that critical thinking on why am I even doing this anyway? Am I just kind of taking these classes and going through the motions without my heart really being in it, or kind of losing sight of those larger goals? So great, solid advice for those who are looking for that entrepreneur path. Another
Absolutely.
question, so for our seniors who are currently looking for jobs, what are what's some advice or strategies that you have for them?
I think the first one that comes to mind is gonna again go back to those networks, especially considering the climate that we're in. Right, it's kind of difficult. So I think tapping into our networks is going to be crucial, because I mean, the reality of at least from my opinion, the reality of life is that people are going to hire people that they know and that they know relatively well, right? Certainly your experience is going to count for something, because people could know you, but if they don't have anything to offer, it doesn't matter, right? So you have to certainly have a skill set, something to offer, right? You have to have some experience to some degree, but you got to tap into the network. You got to, who do you know that's in the fields that you want to get into? And if you don't know anyone, so who do you know that knows someone, right? Go down the line, find it. There's a trail somewhere. Follow the trail. And I think that's going to be crucial, because just about every opportunity, if I'm being wholeheartedly transparent, every opportunity that I've gotten, I've known someone along the way, right? And that at least got me in the door. I had to do the rest, right? But I at least got my foot in the door through someone that I knew who, either pointed me to an opportunity, maybe put in a good word for me, coached me through an opportunity. And so that network has been crucial, 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 crucial in every step of my journey. And so I would imagine for seniors, tap into those networks and try your best not to be transactional. I think that's important too, right? So it's not just about getting something from them, it's developing a relationship. That's also important. Relationships are truly important, because you could know somebody, but if you don't have a relationship with them, then to what depth do you really know them? To what depth do they really know you? And can they trust you, right? If they're gonna put your name forward for something, they're putting theirs with it, and so that's something to kind of be mindful of as well.
Nice. Yeah. And I can relate to what you said, JQ. Most of the opportunities I've had did come from within my network. That's someone advocating for you, right? So really important to be intentional, not to give
Yeah,
up. I just have a couple more questions. So if
sure.
you could name one experience that really, really influenced your career track, what would it be?
One experience that really, oh, that's hard because there's so many. Um, wow. Um, I have to go back to undergrad. I mean, I think, having been in a position or in a space mentally, emotionally, spiritually where I was lost, that for me was that defined everything, because it was in being lost that I searched. Um, and recognizing that I was lost is what got me to search, right? Because I think a lot of the times, and this is just my own opinion and vantage point, I think some of us are lost and confused but don't know it, right? Because we're so caught up in doing, we believe we're doing everything that the world has told us we're supposed to be doing. We're doing everything that our parents, our family, or society, or whatever has told us we should be doing, right? And so it took me to really own and realize that I was lost, to understand that I needed to search. I needed to really dig into myself. And I think that was the defining moment, because when I realized that, that's what got me to essentially do everything else, reach out for help, right? Because it was in that moment that I recognized that I couldn't do it on my own. I was trying to do it by myself. And sometimes I think we get caught up in that. We think that we're supposed to, our success is defined by us solely. And yes, you definitely play a big role in it, but you don't live in the world alone, right? And so we all operate collectively and together in some form of fashion. So I would have to say it was definitely undergrad, being on the verge of, getting kicked out, having a 1.6 GPA and losing some financial aid. It sounds like such a bad thing, but that was the thing. That was the catalyst for everything, because it's what woke me up. It's what helped me to realize that I didn't know what I was doing and I needed to do something different. And wanting to help any other students that could potentially find themselves in the exact same position that I was once in, or a very similar position, became my mission. It became my purpose. It is my purpose. That's why I do everything that I do comes back to that why. That is why I've chosen to be an academic counselor. It's why I've chosen to be a speaker. It's why I've chosen to use my music as a way to reach audiences. It's because I want to help those who may find themselves in the same position I was in. And I want to be the one to help them if I can, because I needed somebody to help me.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
That resiliency, that motivation, drive.
Yeah,
So our
absolutely.
last question is kind of a fun one. Cassie likes to keep it food related because it is like lunchtime. So
Okay.
what is your favorite lunch food?
Favorite lunch food? Dang. Why I always got to pick? Do I have to pick one? Can I say a few?
Go for it. I love food too.
The first one that came to mind just now was pizza. I like a good vegetable sliced pizza. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I'll accept.
Well, I'm vegetarian. I'm vegetarian. I'm vegetarian, so
good point.
yeah, so there's actually a pizza place locally where I love their veggie pie. It's got eggplant, it's got broccoli, it's got peppers, tomato. So I guess I'll stick with pizza, because I might have to go get some pizza now.
Okay, nice. Before we get going today, though, yes. I do have to plug. We have a new show coming out from the Fleischman Center, Be Real Talks, and I am super excited about this show, everybody. The main thing is I'm going to be interviewing alum, faculty, staff, students. We're going to be having raw, real, authentic conversations about experiences that individuals have had, challenges that people have faced based on different aspects of their identity, whether it be, race, class, gender, all those sorts of things. We're going to be talking about, everything's going to be kind of theme-based. So some days we're going to be talking about women in leadership. Other days we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a person of color in a predominantly white workspace, right? And the main goal is for our students to really take away how they can be advocates for themselves, right? To gain those skills, to learn those insights from people who share similar experiences, and they can, feel really prepared when they're going into those internship and work settings. So I'm really excited because JQ is our first guest on the show, and I couldn't think of a more perfect person, right? He is very focused on helping students that, he can relate to, that need it the most. So check that out. You're going to be seeing that the first week of July. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you, JQ. I could talk to you for hours about career advice or anything, really. So check out the pinned comment. Check out Success is a Lifestyle. We got music, we have merch, we have everything, all the things. It's all great. So thanks again, JQ, and thanks everybody for watching. See you later.
Yes. Take care.
Bye.